Who doesn't like magic? From children to adults, magic is very intriguing to most everyone. The Harry Potter franchise brought in over $7 billion just with the movies. That's $1 for every person on the planet. A news clip from a Harry Potter book that came out in 2005 says, "New Potter book topples U.S. sales records. 6.9 million copies sold in the first 24 hours. So yeah, I'd say most people like magic. The word magic is usually labeled when someone experiences something wonderful but yet doesn't fully understand it. In this picture, you can see the person on the far left is in cahoots with the magician. As the magician keeps the attention of the spectator, his assistant robs the purse of the unknowing spectator. Cup number 1, number 2, number 3. Nothing under the cups. And we got ball number 1, ball number 2, and ball number 3. Ball number 1. Ball number 2. You gotta have balls to do this. And ball number 3. Now when I do this routine, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's the viewer who may not understand or see things as they truly are. There are 2 spellings for the word magic. Magic, spelled M-A-G-I-C, refers to stage magic, such as David Copperfield or Lance Burton, Las Vegas style. Most of them prefer the term illusionist. And spelled M-A-G-I-C-K refers to the studies of the British occultist Aleister Crowley, who chose the spelling to differentiate the occult from stage magic, and defined it as the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. Now the emotion of fear is usually caused by the unknown and originates in the mind. The fear of magic is the unwillingness to understand and then know things. And movies like Harry Potter gives the impression that magic is something make-believe. I will be quoting the Bible as well, so don't get confused. The Bible is very magical. Everything is relevant. There's a definition of relevant: having some sensible or logical connection with something else, such as a matter being discussed or investigated. The following is a list of the laws of magic. Here's a quote from the Kybalion I'd like to read first. "The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding." If you're not ready to understand, then you might as well stop watching this video. There's a cool cups and balls routine in the beginning that you can rewind a few times and watch. Those of you who are ready to understand, and you know who you are, then ask yourself this: would you feed a baby meat? No, they get fed milk. You can't teach the concept of gravity if the person you're teaching believes the earth is flat. There are just too many other things for them to learn first, before learning about gravity. The laws of magic. Number 1. The law of knowledge. Knowledge is power. To affect a thing, you must know the thing. And understanding brings control. Now when it says understanding brings control, it's not intended to mean control freak, but more of a mind over matter. Number 2. Law of self-knowledge. Know thyself. The more you know about yourself, the more you can know something else. Number 3. Law of cause and effect. under exactly the same conditions using the same actions and thoughts will always obtain the same results. I found this on the internet. The whole concept of causation is on shaky ground, thanks to developments in the field of quantum physics. But for practical purposes in magic, as well as in our everyday lives, we ignore causality to our peril. We must assume, at least in dealing with things the size of human beings, that effects follow causes. Even in the constantly flowing astral realm, we find the law of cause and effect in full operation. Number 4. Law of synchronicity. Two or more events happening at the same time are likely to have more in common than the brief moment in time in which they happen. Very few events ever happen in isolation from other events. There is no such thing as a mere coincidence. Here's a quick personal trivia I'll share. I had an accident on January 8th, 2011 that almost ended my life. After having all kinds of x-rays done at the trauma center, I find myself in a room. Several nurses were attending to me as the TV, they had it on CNN, was talking about the tragic accident that happened in Arizona. If anyone remembers that Congresswoman Gifford that was shot in the head by some wacko who went on a shooting spree, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I just had a tragic accident too. A couple weeks later, I researched the whole thing, the time of the day, etc., and also taking into account for the 3-hour time difference from the two locations. My fall and this shooting happened literally simultaneously to the minute. Number 5. Law of names. If one knows the whole and complete name of a phenomenon or entity, one has complete control over it. And once again, the word control is not intended to mean control freak, but you're either in control or you're being controlled. Names are definitions. This is more obvious in simpler languages, but it's as true of English as of any other. Sometimes the definition is hidden in the origin of the word, as is often the case with those derived from Latin or Greek, but it is there. Also, names are mnemonic memory devices which trigger a range of associations. The origin of the word wizard is wise man, someone who is knowledgeable about many things. Number 6. Law of association. If two things have something in common, anything, that thing can be used to control both. Even in quantum mechanics, Bell's theorem indicates that every particle in the universe affects every other. Number 7. Law of contagion. Objects or beings in physical contact with each other continue to interact after separation. Everyone and everything you have ever touched or been in contact with has a magical link with you. Number 8. Law of polarity. Any pattern of data can be split into at least two opposing characteristics, and each will contain the essence of the other within itself. Number 9. Law of identification. With your will, you can become anything, be one with anything. With complete association between your meta pattern and that of another entity, you can become that entity. You can then examine your own meta pattern from the point of view of that entity. Number 10. Law of infinite data. There is more in the universe than we can sense or know. Learning never stops. Number 11. Law of infinite universes. The total number of universes in which all possible combinations of existing phenomena could be organized is infinite. Anything is possible. Number 12, law of synthesis. The combination of any two energy forms will result in a third energy form more complex than the combination of the original two. Number 13, law of invocation and evocation. There are forces outside and inside of you that you can tap into and direct through your thoughts or your mind. This is the same thing as prayer. Number 14, law of pragmatism. If a pattern of belief or behavior enables a being to survive and to accomplish chosen goals, then that belief or behavior is true or real or sensible. If it works, it's true. Number 15, law of free will. Events are predestined, but each person chooses whether and to what extent to participate in them. Number 16, law of unity. Every phenomenon in existence is linked directly or indirectly to every other one, past, present, or future. Perceived separations are based on incomplete sensing and understanding. In a minute, I'll go through the 7 Hermetic principles, which are the foundation of magic. Hermetic philosophy originated from Hermes Trismegistus, whose time here has been fixed around the early days of the oldest Egyptian dynasties. Before the days of Moses, the best authorities regard him as a contemporary of Abraham, and some Jewish traditions claim that Abraham acquired a portion of his mystic knowledge from Hermes himself. Hermes is also mentioned in the Holy Quran. Here's a couple quotes from the Holy Bible. Genesis 2:15 through 17. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die. Here's Proverbs 13:14. The law of the wise is a foundation of life, to depart from the snares of death. Proverbs 29:11. A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. Mark 12:30 and 31. These are words spoken by Jesus. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these. Here's Philippians 2, verse 2. The Apostle Paul to the Philippians. Fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Here's the 7 Hermetic principles. Number 1, the principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. We exist in the mind of the all. That part of us which is divine makes up the world and everything in it. Number 2, the principle of correspondence. As above, so below, as below, so above. We exist in all planes, astral as well as physical. Here's the Tarot Magician card depicting him pointing up and down, as above, so below. He's got the infinity symbol on over his head. Number 3, the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Everything is in motion and vibrates with its own rate of vibration. Number 4, the principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. Number 5, the principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. All things are in some way circular, spiral, cyclic, and in order to function the best way, you must adapt to live in harmony with natural rhythms. Number 6, the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. There are no coincidences. Nothing happens by chance. For every effect there is a cause, and every cause is an effect in something else. Everything is a cycle. Number 7, the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. This is the last quote, and it's from the Kybalion. The wise ones serve on the higher, but rule on the lower. They obey the laws coming from above them, but on their own plane, and those below them, they rule and give orders. And yet, in so doing, they form a part of the principle instead of opposing it. The wise man falls in with the law, and by understanding its movements, he operates it instead of being its blind slave. Just as does the skilled swimmer turn this way and that way, going and coming as he will, instead of being the log which is carried here and there. So is the wise man as compared to the ordinary man. And yet both swimmer and log, wise man and fool, are subject to law. He who understands this is well on the road to mastery.